John's going to talk about Mario, and then any other questions you have, and then
Do you want
me to start with comments or?
Yeah, why don't you start with some comments about Mario?
Sure. Am I in front of the microphones or in front of the camera here?
If you could be right.
A little bit more to the right. You're good right there?
Here?
Perfect. Thank you.
Go ahead. You start with the
Good
statement about Mario. Yep.
Good. Welcome everybody. I'm here to discuss our exciting addition of Mario González to LAFC. We'll open up for questions in a minute. Just a few remarks off the top. We came into this transfer window with some clear priorities as to what we felt we needed to give us the best chance of success in the short, medium, and long term. We had identified the position and profile of player we felt we needed in the number 9 striker, attacker, whatever you want to call it, position, and went through a long list of players with our scouts, our analysts, our analysts, coaches, and Mario quickly was identified as the player who best fit our needs for how we play, for the type of person he is. We did the due diligence that you would expect, and Mario consistently was at the top of the list of players that we felt gave us the best chance of success, and we are incredibly excited to welcome Mario to LAFC. I'll open for questions.
How long has he been on the radar for LAFC? Because I know I've spoken to you guys before, you and Steve, about finding these guys and vetting them for a bit.
Yeah, good question. So I think just to go backstage a little bit, the way we have to work is we have contingency plans and depth charts, not just per position, but per category of spend, because a lot of that is dynamic depending on who we sell, who we move, the spots that are open, etc. And there are cases where we are looking at players for 12, 18 months. That wasn't the case with Mario, mainly because he was not available in the other windows when we were looking. But very quickly, when we discussed with our network and had our scouts and data analysts go out and do their research, they had identified that Mario might be available. It was a bit of a prolonged negotiation and difficult because he was in a difficult one given the demand for him in Europe. But I would say we worked on it for months rather than years, and again from the get-go was somebody that we'd identified having not known him. But what I really liked about the process, Max, is that when we then sat down with him and every bit of diligence we did, we got more and more excited about it.
He had an incredible goal record with the last Belgian club he was in, and obviously that would be something that would keep him very high in the marketplace. So how did LAFC view that with how he's playing right now?
Yeah, so we do look at things like that. I think thankfully I'm also friendly with the sporting director at Villarreal, who had Mario from a very young age, and I think what we saw in the successful periods he's had in Europe is that goal scoring record. I don't think MLS was necessarily on Mario's radar as the next step until we got engaged with him and his representative, who was very helpful because he has some players in MLS. And I think as Mario did his diligence, and then as we connected with him and presented the opportunity here in LA, I think he saw this as a great next step for him and his career, and thankfully we feel the same, that he really meets our needs based on what we've seen with not just his goals and his production, but how he plays the position.
Yo en español, perdón. ¿Por qué traer a Mario González en este momento a LAFC?
¿Por qué?
Sí.
Bueno, a nosotros cuando estuvimos planeando esta ventana de las necesidades del equipo, identificamos, bueno, quizás prioridad 1 fue añadir a alguien que juega en esta posición como delantero y tuvimos que analizar todas las opciones y por nosotros Mario cabe muy bien al estilo de juego y cada paso de nuestro análisis afirma nuestros sentimientos que él va a darnos la posibilidad de tener más y más éxito porque a causa de su estilo de jugar cabe bien a nosotros y también como persona es algo muy importante para nosotros, el hombre y también el jugador, y él cabe muy bien a las necesidades del equipo.
Hay un rumor muy fuerte de la llegada de Chucky Lozano aquí a LAFC.
Vamos a enfocar en Mario y podemos hablar de eso. No hay nada que necesitamos hablar de eso, pero podemos discutir después.
John, in the formative years at LAFC, you focused a lot on acquiring South American talent. Now it seems there's been a shift to Europe. What is the reason for that, and how do you see that progressing forward?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily describe the tactical approach as mutually exclusive. I think what we have said from the get-go, based on where we were at that stage of our club, we focused on much fewer markets and went much deeper in those markets. I think now we started with one scout and now we have 4, 5, 6 scouts, which enables us to do that across more markets. So we've always said that we're going to turn over every stone possible. Our focus at that stage was really heavily focused in South America. We are still just as heavily, if not more, focused. We have just as many. No, we have more people on the ground in South America now than we did then. I'm hopeful that you will see in the not too distant future evidence of that in terms of players that you will see here at LAFC that are coming from South America. But we did open up possibilities now, given our network and our scouts and our analysts, to go a bit wider into Europe. So now you're seeing Mario and then the young players that we have with Stipe, Maddie, and then Filip Krastev, who we expect to be here hopefully some point soon when his immigration is done.
And you are often asked about rule changes. My question isn't about that. My question is, do you see the transparency of salary cap, transfer fees, these type of things, the way that they're transparent in Europe or in other leagues in America? Do you think that see that opening up in any way for fans to have access to that in the future?
It's an interesting question. So the fact that our salaries are public, that's actually way more transparent than any other league in global football. I think, if I'm understanding your question right, I think what you're talking about is cap management and allocation and things like that. It's not for me to say as to whether it would be better. I just sort of have to deal with the restrictions placed upon us. What I do think, though, just personally, this is not a club statement or a statement against the rules. What I do find very, I'll put it in the comical, is there are rumors of things that we're doing or why did they do this? And it's like the equivalent of, somebody asking me with no information and no knowledge of saying, like, how would you advise us to fly this rocket to the moon? It's like, I would love for people to see actually why we make decisions and things like, why on earth would they sell that player? Whereas I think if the book was open and you could see why we had to sell that player, do this, that, and the next thing, only in the sense that it would help offer that clarity and maybe avoid some of those questions. But I do think, ironically answering your question, there are some things that are more transparent than other leagues, but I do understand fans and those that want to get into the cap gymnastics, that some transparency around that would be welcomed by the supporters.
Do one more for John here, and then we'll bring Mario in.
John, thank you for doing this. Can you talk about just the profile of the positions that you guys want to fill for the remaining of the season, to help the team for the remaining of the season?
Yeah, so we are close to done. Our window closes tomorrow at, I think, 10 p.m. It's been a very busy period. We're grateful that we've got two of the priorities we needed, which was Mario, and then we've added a young midfielder that we're very excited about in Filip Krastev, who we're hoping will be available soon. And I would expect maybe one more signing by the close of the window, and then, like we did last year with a few of our players, Teo was an example, we still have the ability to sign free agents once the window closes, but the majority, if not all of our business is nearly done with the exception of one move we're still working on.
All right, thanks, guys. And Mario, come in. Stand by here, John. We just